19th of September. My name's Kenna and I'm the clerk to the panel. Just before we start, the first item on the agenda is nomination of chair. Members, could I please have nomination for a chair for the meeting this evening?
Can I nominate Councillor Green?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Salmons, do you second that at all? Lovely, thank you very much. Councillor Green, I pass over to you as chair of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenna. I am Councillor Aaron Green and I will chair the subcommittee for this meeting. I'd like to introduce the members of the subcommittee along with me this evening are Councillor Vicky Hartstein on my right and Councillor Sue Salmons on my left. Also in attendance are the legal advisor Gabriel Neopatu, licensing officers Paul Adams and Elizabeth Cox, clerk Kenna Healy. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed to the Council's website. Before we start, I'd like to explain the process of the hearing. Firstly, the licensing officer will present their report. Following this, members and all relevant parties will have the opportunity to ask any questions. Then each party will be given the opportunity to give their case. This is also followed by questions from members and all parties. Once everyone has presented their case, all parties will have time to give a closing summary, with the applicant having the final say. The subcommittee will then retire to consider its decision and will be accompanied by the clerk and the legal advisor. We will then return with our decision. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies for absence, Butch.
Thank you, Chair. On the front of the agenda, we published with councillors Rigby and Snell. Unfortunately, they were both unable to attend and they've been substituted by other members of the licensing committee, yourself and Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is of urgent business. I have not been advised of any items of urgent business. That being said, we do have two additional applications to be held this evening which have been submitted by Essex Police.
Oh, my apologies, Chair, that's incorrect. It's just the one item this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is declaration of interest. Can I invite the members of the subcommittee to declare any interests?
No. None.
Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda, determination of an application for a new premises licence. Do any of the parties have any requests in particular? Permission for another person to appear other than specified in the advance notice, for a permission to cross-examine or any other requests? I would now like to ask the licensing officer to present the factual report.
Thank you, Chair. An application has been received for a new premises licence for the Precinct, High Street, Stamford-le-Hope. Representations have been received from Essex Police and 8 local residents. The application was received for FE's Restaurant and Takeaway at For the Precinct on 23rd of June of this year. It was submitted by Mr I on behalf of Mr Ibrahim Akil. The application is to authorise the supply of late night refreshment Monday to Thursday from 11 p.m. till midnight 30, and Friday and Saturday from 11 p.m. till 2:30 a.m. Late night refreshment includes the sale of hot food and drinks, but does not include the sale of alcohol. Copy of the full application and associated documentation is attached as Appendix 1, and a location map and photograph is attached as Appendix 2. Due to errors with the initial application and documentation that came into us, it was not validated as an application until the 28th of July. However, in this period, the application was advertised in accordance with the legislation, and during this period, the representations from residents were received. All the residents were contacted and advised that if they wished to do so, their representations would be carried forward into the consultation period, and this is what happened. The residents' representations are attached to Appendix 3. Simon Barnes, on behalf of Essex Police, also requested some clarity on the conditions to be added to the licence if it is to be granted, but did not receive any response from the agent or applicant at the time. Mr Barnes therefore had to submit a representation requesting the conditions, which is attached to Appendix 4. Should the application be granted, the licence would also be subject to the conditions taken from the applicant's operating schedule, which forms part of the application form. In the case of this application, it would be that notices would be placed to discourage noise from customers arriving, queuing and leaving the premises. The conditions from Essex Police's representation clarify those from the applicant's operating schedule, particularly in relation to CCTV and incident log. I won't read them all out. They're listed on page 6 and 7 of the agenda. No other representations received from any other persons or any of the other responsible authorities. Under the Licensing Act 2003, the licensing objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. Any representation must relate to the particular premises and must be relevant to the promotion of at least one or more of the 4 licensing objectives. Following hearing all the materials this evening, the following options are available to the licensing subcommittee. To grant the application as applied for, to grant the application subject to such conditions as are necessary and proportionate to promote the licensing objectives, or to refuse the application. The subcommittee are advised that the final decision should be based on the individual merits of this application and findings of fact made at this evening's hearing. This application must be determined within 5 working days of the conclusion of the hearing in accordance with paragraph 26 of the Licensing Act 2003, Hearings Regulations 2005. Thank you.
Thank you. Do members have any questions of the licensing officer? Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. What's the space currently being used for, please?
I understand it has previously been operated as a cafe by the applicant. I think, Mr. I'll be able to confirm that. Every time I've been there recently, it hasn't actually been trading at all. It's been closed up, but that's my understanding.
Lovely, thank you. And just one other from me, if that's okay, Chair. Thank you. Just on pages 47, 50 and 51, the objections state that the premises is within a private property area. They've had 3 of the objections stated that. Do you know if that's correct?
That isn't information that we would hold for that application.
Yep, no worries, thank you.
That's fine.
No, thank you. Does Essex Police have any questions of the licensing officer?
No, sir.
Thank you. Does any of the interested parties, residents, have any questions of the licensing officer?
Can I just clarify what times the licence cover? Because it seems to be very late, but in the application it's from 12, I think that's AM until 1:30 PM or 2:30 PM.
So
But
the application...
in your summary, it was only had...
So late night refreshment only begins at 11 PM. So up until that point, they don't need a licence from us, which is why the times in the report may differ to what's been put on the advertisement. So they probably included the whole thing. So a licence for late night refreshment is needed for anything between 11 PM and 5 AM. So for this one, they've applied obviously from 11 PM until midnight 30 on Monday to Thursday, and then until 2:30 in the morning on a Friday and Saturday night. So therefore going into Sunday morning.
So in theory, it can open already until 11 PM without any
Without the licence from us, yes.
licence? Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions of the licensing officer? Thank you. I would now like to ask Essex Police to present their report.
Thank you, sir. My name is Simon Barnes. I'm the Essex Police Licensing Officer representing the Chief Officer of Police for the county. My representation was laid due to the fact that I'd received no response from the applicant's agent throughout the consultation period. It is standard practice for us to have consultation and discussions regarding the exact wording of conditions, particularly where they pertain to the crime and disorder objective. The concern I held was that the conditions as given by the applicant whilst going some ways to allaying our concerns, particularly with the late hour being requested, left some ambiguity, particularly in relation to references to be agreed with Essex Police within the condition, which grants ambiguity and also lack of ability for the licensing authority to then enforce any condition, because it will be incumbent on Essex Police to write up some form of agreement after your committee has reached a decision, which is why we've put forward 3 conditions for reword to clarify the position and make it very clear what is both expected and what would be then measured by both ourselves and the licensing authority. These conditions are outlined in Appendix A of my representation. I don't see any need to rehash anything further that I've written, so I lay my report on your behalf.
Do members have any questions of the Essex Police? I'll just ask one question. A lot of your statements in Appendix A is around antisocial behaviour. How did you get to that?
The problem always with any late night opening, particularly on a Friday and Saturday night, is that it will draw the pub goers from the 4 licensed premises in the town, so Inn on the Green, Rising Sun, Railway Tavern and the courthouse, which make up the town's 4 pubs. Obviously, when those are letting out at around 1 to 2 a.m. sort of time frame, they are naturally going to seek out food. Unfortunately, that does lead to a level of disorder that occurs on a high street when alcohol plus air and a queue can create some issues. So far, there was always some disorder on the high streets of Stamford, which are unattributable to any licence because of the nature of the beast of people coming together. So conditions need to be put in place to ensure that at least once they reach those locations, that it is managed and maintained, particularly with that late hour. Had it been an 11 p.m, even a midnight, it may be that those specific worded conditions might not be totally necessary, but once you start getting past midnight, their expectation and need to control and manage and monitor and have the ability to retrospectively go back to deal with any crime or disorder that occurs outside of premises increases in line with the time.
Okay, thank you. Anything? Councillor Salmons.
Yes, I know you're saying there's 4 pubs, but there's actually the Regency Ballroom that closed much later than the pubs, isn't there? So in fact, there's 5 potential problems.
Yes, so when Regency is open, it has the ability to remain open for quite a long time. On average, it isn't one that does remain open regularly to make it one of the 4, which are open on every single weekend without fail, and generally have events and other things which draw a much younger crowd, which obviously has an increased risk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? Thank you. Does the licensing officer have any questions of Essex Police?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does the interested parties have any questions for Essex Police?
Yeah, I was going to say on the application it says the provision of the late night licence will take place both indoors and outdoors. Does that give you any concerns? Because there's a picture of tables out there, and tables out till 2:30 in the morning. Does seem a little bit, unnecessary, shall I say?
Use your
Although it's a high street address, it's not really positioned in a high street. If you're not familiar with the address yourself, it's in a little precinct, and the houses and flats opposite are probably not much further than that wall there opposite the actual premises that's applying for the licence.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, can I ask for the question again, just because
You go.
just so I make sure I get can you just repeat your question again, sorry? The first gentleman, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it says on the application that there'll be people inside as well as outside till 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so it depends on what furniture they are going to plan to use. As a rule of thumb, most premises, so there are quite a few late night refreshment premises throughout the town. Some have frontages which they use during the day, but then withdraw it during the night. So it will depend on how they plan to use it and which will be monitored. If it becomes an issue, particularly if they are used as, heaven forbid, they're used as weapons, obviously that would be a point where we may trigger a review of the licence to put further controls in relation to that. But it's, as a late night refreshment premises, a lot of the time, most people at that time of night are really after something they can grab and go and eat on their way, and usually causing a mess elsewhere.
Any more questions? Does the applicant have any questions for Essex Police? Thank you. I'd now like to ask the interested parties to present their case. Would you like to present?
Sorry, is that us?
Yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, as I stated in the email that I sent in, and as Richard mentioned, the premises itself is off of the high street, in a small parade of shops. There are flats above the shops, and there are flats and houses opposite the shops, and very, very close proximity. When it was operating as a cafe, it used to close at 5 in the afternoon, and it was just serving sort of traditional fare, shall we say, with no takeaway whatsoever. And that kind of fitted in with the local community, and it was used by the local community. I think when you open that out to 2:30 in the morning, as mentioned, you know, the pub's chucking out, it's going to be opened past when the pubs chuck out. That's going to attract a whole load of different clientele. Plus you've got the takeaway service, so you've got delivery vans front and back, because there's an access road at the back of the property as well. And I think that will just be intolerable for the local residents, really, up until 2:30 on a Friday and Saturday. There's, you know, young families there. Shift workers, yeah, all sorts of people. Yes, sorry, yeah, there's an extractor fan at the back as well, and that vents, I would say, underneath one of the flats, because there isn't the ability to effectively go through the building and vent it up at a second floor. So again, when it was operating as a cafe, it might have been less of a nuisance. If it's operating as a takeaway, as well as serving refreshments kind of off the street, that could become much worse. And I'm not quite sure how that could be addressed, because you would hope that kind of flue-in would be above where the residential properties are, and it currently isn't. So you're going to get all the smells kind of wafting into the upstairs properties. I think that was all I was going to mention. As I say, I think I put most of it in the comments beforehand.
Thank you. Does members have any questions? Councillor Salmons.
So this fan that takes the smell, is it noisy?
It was when it was operating as a cafe. I guess you could change it, but it's just where it is. It kind of blows the fumes out of the back.
every flat's got a balcony. So
Okay.
late night, you've got patio doors, you can have the patios open. The smell's just going to come directly. You can just put your hand down, probably touch the fan. It's going to come up and they'll be directly into the flat if you've got your windows open.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask one question. Regarding the opening at the times you've mentioned, what concerns you with that, and what would be in your ideal world, cut-off?
I would say when, you know, reasonable people want to go to sleep. So, you know, the people across the road, that's young families. I don't know what time the children go to bed. It's school hours, probably 8, 9 o'clock at night, something like that. Maybe the weekend slightly later, but, you know, 2:30 on a Friday and a Saturday is quite excessive, I would suggest.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Does the licensing have any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Does Essex Police have any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Does the applicant have any questions? Thank you. I would now like to ask the applicant to present their case.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Ali I. I'm the architect and I'm the agent for this application. The first,
Can you just bring the mic down a bit? Speak into it, please.
first the shop location. Shop exactly is a part of High Street. Is close to High Street. And okay, the residential area, but all ground floor is the shops. The High Street and this small location is ground floor is commercial, different shop, and the upper floor is residential, small type flat. And the some objection, public objection, police officer objection, I have respect, is no problem. Before meeting, I spoke with the officer, Mr. Simon. We like to reduce opening hours. But for the takeaway type business, the weekend is very important, Friday and Saturday. Because the social activity, you know, the people, someone sleeping after 4 o'clock. The new concern is that opening hours is no problem, same, we can do it. Monday to Thursday, opening 12 and closing 1 o'clock. From 2:30, we reduce to 1 o'clock. And, sorry, apologize. Monday to Thursday, 12 to 12. And Friday, Saturday, 12 to 1 o'clock. Yeah, from 2:30, we reduce to 1 o'clock, Friday and Saturday. Sunday, 12, 10:30, half hour we reduce. Again, Monday to Thursday, 12 opening and closing 12 to 12. Friday, Saturday, 12 to 1 o'clock, Friday and Saturday, and Sunday, 12 to 10:30. And is the for takeaway type business is all activity evening time. And the weekend, Friday, Saturday, just business income is equalized the other 4 or 5 days. The Saturday and the Friday, very important. We have the respect for any the resident people, for the living condition, we have the respect. And the police officer, the CCTV, we don't have any objection. I'm arranged with the police because for our safety. I explained to applicant, he's accepted. And I said, plus, if the police did the condition, the red care, okay, it's no problem. And the noise, we will installation the new extraction and the flue, if the necessary, the license department do it or the building control, we can do it on acoustic report. after completed work, the evening time, the active time, we can do it one acoustic report. And for the residential area, acoustic report, it must be no over 10 decibel noise measurement. We can do it, it's no problem. Because there needs some technology engine or some filtration, just noise nothing, and the smell very important. Smell and because a lot of particulates go in the air, filtration. We do the double carbon filtration and suspended noise, the new type motor, extraction motor. We can do it if the licensing authority do the necessary, put the condition, no any objection, we have respect, no problem. And the other, just I'd like to give the reminder that not far away, King's Kebab, at a few hundred meters, the high street is closing 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. morning, weekend. Orient Express, again takeaway, is closing 2 a.m. And ground floor shop, upper floors is the residential. But this is the previous one, the old one. Of course, sometimes the policy is changing by government or by local authority. We have respect for the register opening time. That's it. It's just we have respect to your decision, and with the condition, it's all right. Thank you.
I'll now ask members if they have any questions. Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just to pick up on a couple of things that the interested parties picked up on about the outdoor furniture, just to wonder, do you have any idea what the applicant's thoughts are for the outdoor furniture? Because obviously it's in the plans and it has been raised.
The furniture, actually, to late time is dangerous. It's not good. I say here, please, if you put the furniture for temporary, because some people come in the takeaway, worker people, like the eating and the going, just a small chair for, I think, for sitting. We can do the condition after 11 o'clock, we can remove. Yeah, late time is not good because drunk people coming and the risk is not good. I say him, I explain to him, applicant is accepted. We can remove the 10:30 or 11 o'clock, we can remove. For just evening, for the worker people, and sometimes the late coming, but the late time, the outside furniture, I have respect your comment, is not good. Thank you.
Okay. I'll come back to you if that's okay. Councillor Salmons.
So I'm assuming if you're doing takeaways, there's going to be like the delivery companies, Uber Eats, etc., etc. Because that's such a small area. What about the vehicles and car doors, the mopeds? How are you going to deal with the noise of that so that the residents aren't disturbed?
For the parking noise, but I think is not big affected here. It's because just cars slowly come the parking or slowly going is. I don't think it's a big affected. And generally, this area I look at is the working people. Yeah. For example, after 11 o'clock, is some drunk people come driving, but it's working. The location people. I don't think that is the parking, the noise is a bit affected yet. Actually, no, it's opened. Shop is closed, not everybody parking. I can say it's not changing. If we get a license opening or no opening, it's not affected car parking here because it's open now. Everybody parking. Because the high street sometimes, yesterday I went inside, the 8 o'clock evening time, high street is no parking. Yeah, everybody coming to this area. I don't think the car parking is, parking noise is involving our the licensing here. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions, but we will through. In Appendix A from the police, they've got suggested conditions. Do you accept, would you be willing to accept all of them?
Yes, for the license authority or by police officer, the condition we have respected. Just for our opening hours is important. Our condition, the other condition we have respected, no objection. For CCTV, for the noise, look, nobody talking about acoustic report, I say. I'm technician. This for the takeaway shops is the important one, noise problem and the small problem because people sleeping. And if it's necessary, we can do the new one acoustic report. We can pass it from the building control. And if the no over 10 decibel, it's okay. This is I did. Is nobody no license authority, no the objector people for the extraction. All right, gentleman is saying. But technically, we can suspend it. It's no problem. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Hartstein.
Thank you. I've just got a few more questions. That's okay, Chair, please. Could I just come back to the question that Councillor Salmons asked around takeaway? Is the application for delivery as well, to begin with? My first question.
Delivery gate will be possibly. Yeah.
Thank you, because we didn't quite cover the Uber Eats and that kind of situation in terms of sort of mopeds, and because I can think of other areas in Thurrock that have that kind of thing, and it tends to have a very large gathering of mopeds and drivers and all manner of things. How would that be mitigated, please?
Yeah, the home delivery with the corona, is for the old restaurant for the takeaway. I'm an old man. I use the mask. I'm diabetic because someone again from corona. I don't like to go to restaurant, for example. The home cooking, or I buy some takeaway, and is necessary. The home delivery takeaway is necessary, but we can do it in some condition. For example, for time, service time. For example, after 1 o'clock is not servicing, or after 12 o'clock is possible. But evening time is important. For family demand, for family order. For example, between 6 and 10 o'clock is active. After 11 or after 12, we can suspend it. There's no problem. If the licensing the condition, okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't think we've quite covered the bit, though, that I was most concerned about is around the sort of the gathering of the mopeds, and because that wouldn't matter whether it was 6 o'clock or midnight. That's sort of around antisocial behaviour. I was just wondering what sort of mitigations the applicant had thought of.
Yeah, the home delivery, no, I say after corona is a big affected. Yeah. For example, is maybe the nearly 30-40% is affected for the business activity. Is necessary home delivery, but we can do it in some condition. It's possibly, and we are looking for the police officer or the licensing is the one that time limit. Okay, we can. For example, after 12 is not any home delivery, or after 11:30, for example. With this opening hours, half hour or 1 hour before, we can suspend it. For example, Saturday, Friday, if the 1 o'clock closing, the home delivery, we can suspend the 12 o'clock. After 12, Saturday and the Friday, not any home delivery. The other days closing 12, we can do it from 11 o'clock. No any home delivery. If this type condition do it, all right. We have respect, it's no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, can I ask another question? Yep, thank you. It was just to come back to the mitigations of talking about the flue with the noise and the smell. Now, I'm not a builder or an architect, so I don't really know about it, but you talked about double carbon filters, I think, around the smell, and then obviously the decibel reduction for the noise. Are these things that you've actually used before, and are they effective in reducing the smell and the noise? Because I think that's really quite an important factor.
Yes, just not this application. The cross country, per year, we have what is 60, 70 numbers application, takeaway restaurant or sometimes club. Generally, we are using the government detail, the environment agency details, kitchen exhaust system. Kitchen exhaust system, yeah, you can do it. We use these details, and with the environment, the people, we make a meeting on the environment agency office. Together we do it. We have got the good details. And the double carbon filtration and suspended motor, important, yeah. No any vibration, anti-vibration material we using, for example, the no metal screw, no metal joint, just hard plastic, because the absorption vibration. We can do it. Yes, I have respected people sleeping there. I can sleep the upper floor. I'm old man, or my children, or my grandchildren. If the noise, we tested it a few years ago, 6, 7 years ago, at the Northampton. We tested evening time, 11 o'clock. 5 hours, the other side, noise coming. Yes, because the noise, but very, very poor. Because the evening time is no outside activity, just one noise coming. Extraction motor noise coming. We can suspend that one. It's very important. If you use the kitchen exhaust system, the old joint material is plastic, hard plastic, because for absorption, no vibration here. And the other one, the engine, is very important. Yeah, we can send a test certificate to license and to building control. We can send it. And to environment health. Yeah. The other, we have got some sample, same licensing. Yeah, we get it, the acoustic report, we send to environment health and the building control and the licensing. Building control and environment health send the comment, it's okay. Thank you.
Chair, is it possible, just make a suggestion in relation to what's been suggested, perhaps a condition that could be considered to be attached to the licence? I mean, obviously, I think probably the experts in this field is probably the environmental health, nuisance team, effectively, and obviously they're not here tonight. But maybe a condition, if you feel that a condition is necessary, that the extract system is to be assessed in consultation with environmental health, and an agreed system shall be put in place to ensure a nuisance through smell or noise is not caused to any premises above. And then that gives the ability then for the people to speak with the council's environmental health team to assess whether what is there is sufficient, and if any changes need to be made, they can be made and agreed with that. So that might be a better way of, rather than trying to define what sort of system is here in relation to now. I just listening as well to the other bits that were suggested, and I just wondered whether it's worth setting a time potentially around which the tables and chairs shouldn't be placed outside for. And maybe there was a suggestion that maybe that there could be a condition on a licence, if I'm correct in what the gentleman said, that no deliveries will be made after 1 hour before the end of the licensable activity. So effectively, on every night, deliveries would stop an hour before they're due to sort of close the premises. But yeah, it's just some suggestion of conditions, just to perhaps, I don't know whether that the wording would be agreeable.
Yes, I am agree with you. Yes, for the acoustic report, exactly I am agree, is no any problem. I look in the condition. Yes, we can do it acoustic report, and sorry, one acoustic report is 1,600, 700 pound. For our extra cost is no problem. because we like that everybody be happy. First, the public. Sorry, I'm here, I'm the agent for applicant, but I'm independent. I'm independent technician, referee technician. I look in the public side. Public must be satisfied, must be happy, no any problem here, because we are living together, and the shop is closed now. If the 5 shop is closed, it's a big affected high street, the other area. And economic shaking is not good. And the unemployment is, look in the building sector, our business is more than 50% is drop. It is, before Corona is my office, 7 person working. Today we are 2 person working. Me, 3 person. My son and the 1 architect. And for the small business, if the 10 shop closed or the 100 shop is closed, it's big affected. It's affected tax, it's affected the VAT, it's affected rate. Yes, shop rate coming is paid your wages. Sorry. And we have to support it. Again, for some technical condition, 100% I'm with you. I agree with you for the acoustic report. For example, the sitting chair, I said, please, after 11 o'clock, don't do it. You have to clean. And must be the plastic one, no metal, no wooden, plastic one. Because drunk coming, the shaking, touching, is injured. Right, go insurance, go blah, blah, it's trouble. And the criminal problem. I say if you put it outside chair, must be plastic. You can do the condition. Yet outside furniture, it must be plastic. No metal and no wooden. You can. I like to remember you. It's very important. For this condition, I'm agree with you. Is no any objection. Thank you.
Any more questions from members? Thank you.
I'd just like to say one thing.
Can you give us a sec, please? Thank you. Does the licensing officer have any questions? Does Essex Police have any questions?
Yes, sir. So in relation to the external furniture, you've indicated obviously that you wish a condition to effectively either remove or render unusable. Would a condition worded all external seating furniture to be removed or otherwise rendered unusable and secure after X hours, would that be acceptable to yourself and your client to assist the subcommittee in its considerations?
Thank you. And could you just confirm on that? Would that be acceptable?
Yes, I'm arranging with you. And the other condition, and I think you remember the licensing, the outside furniture must be not fixing. It must be mobile. The fixing is not good. The mobile and the plastic. Please, this is very important here. And for the officer condition, I'm agree with him. It's okay. Thank you.
Sorry to cut you off. Have you got any questions?
Yeah, just one quickie about the noise. I know you went about the noise of the fan and the smell and everything else, but there's also the noise of the inside the premises when all the drunks are there and laughing and joking and everything else. It's just literally above. We've got flats above, so it's like in a house. You can hear what's going on downstairs. They can hear. We have to be careful of noise upstairs in the flat to be sort of careful for the shop owners downstairs. But likewise, at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, the noise is going to travel through the floor into the bedrooms, living area upstairs in the flats. That was a point that I don't think has been mentioned.
Go on.
Is to know that our details, the between ceiling and the floor, we have got one observation, 6-inch thickness, cellotex or polystyrene foam. Because the vibration impossibly don't go to the floor, impossible. The between, this is ceiling and this is channel. And the between channel, the floor and the ceiling, minimum 6-inch cellotex insulation or polystyrene foam. Impossible. When we do it acoustic report, one measurement we put in the flat, and the ground floor, noise coming, bum, 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 noise coming, and measurement on the first floor. And we're looking, if the under 10 decibel, it's okay. 10 decibel, you can't hear. It's impossible. It's very, very, very poor.
Sorry, can you
Thank
just
you.
can you just
Is the for the vibration and the for noise, if you get it acoustic report, if you do it a new technology extraction system, I can give guarantee to you the 100% is all right. If there any problem, you can object it. I'm with you. Thank you.
Could you just confirm there, please, the gentleman's question? Did you say you was going to install something on the ceiling? Because I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I don't know if anyone else did, but I misunderstood what you meant.
It's very easy. We have got a lot of sample. These details, I will send to council. I will send the environment head to licensing. These details, the ceiling, foam, and fluid channel. And the fluid channel, again, we're covering. We're covering with the, for example, rock wool insulation. Rock wool is the sand. For fire, for the burning, any problem. Is for the first floor people affected, impossible. Yeah, we have got a lot of sample here. We can do it. But if you do it, just neck one filler and with a metal joint, of course, the noise, vibration, everything is going to first floor. Everything is going. But we can give promise, we will send the details, and definitely we can do it because it's a small shop, it's not big shop. For the cost, it's not big affected here. For the polystyrene foam or cellotex is expensive little bit. It's no problem. We can do it, and we can do it all ceiling. We can covering with the noise. It's possibly all ceiling we can covering with a 2-inch thickness cellotex or polystyrene. Just fixing and the plasterboard painting. That's it. Is finished, and not any noise affected to first floor people. But
Okay.
for the fluid round, fluid is important. The fluid round, we have to do the exactly thickness. Minimum must be 6 inch.
Would licensing be able to confirm? Would that be able to be written in as an environmental?
I think, if the committee feels that there are, adequate concerns and sort of evidence that there is a need to sort of consider additional sound insulation, then potentially, you could have a condition that said, and again, I would suggest that, an acoustic report is undertaken and any recommendations from that report are implemented. I think, it's worth bearing in mind that, environmental health, who are the noise experts have been consulted on this application, and they've not raised any representations in relation to the potential problems of sound transmission through there. And there are other mechanisms that would consider that. So, potentially through the planning and the building regulation applications, they may be considered through that. So, licensing isn't the only tool to address those concerns. I think the other thing to remember also, sorry, just to add one other thing, is there is a review process. So if actually in the future, these concerns are realised and there are problems with people talking at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever the time is, the licence can be called back into for review. So once the licence is granted, it is able to be challenged. So if the residents find, the insulation isn't sufficient or there are problems at that time, there is the ability for them to be able to ask for the review of the licence. So we haven't got to necessarily fix every anticipated problem now. It could be so that if it does crop up later, it can be addressed.
Thank you. I'll pass you back. Have you got any more questions?
Just on that particular point, the concern is, if it's a cafe and it's operating during the day, then fine that everyone's got a higher level of noise, haven't they? But when you're trying to go to bed at 12 o'clock at night and there's pans banging downstairs and there's people shouting at the top of their voice, I'd like to hope that the acoustic report included testing of those type of aspects, really.
Thank you.
Actually, this shop is before the coffee shop. Extraction is a long time. Extraction, the flue, long time is working, but 5 o'clock is closing. Okay, our application for license, for premises license, because after 11 o'clock, they work in the evening time. I think the best, the acoustic report, if the licensing, the condition, this is very important here. The other one, I look at the objection is the noise and opening hours. The other one is not any objection. Okay, noise, we can suspend it. Yeah, and we know we have got the details, we have got information, we have experience. And the opening hours, I say that for the business, the weekend 2 days is important. And the other one is a takeaway, is for the corona. After corona, big affected. For example, myself, I don't go to restaurant. I can't go. I'm afraid. And I have to respect your decision, yes or no, or the condition. And again, we need your help. We need your help for the opening this business. And minimum 5-6 person will work. Yeah, 5-6 person will work. And the 2-3 delivery, it will be 8-9 people. The weekend 2 days. The other days is 4-6 person. And for the local, the other business shop, some shop is closed, is not good. Finally, we need your help, and we have to respect your decision. Thank you very much.
Any more questions?
Yeah, just one. You mentioned that the weekend and the late hours are important for business. You just mentioned there 8 or 9 people working during those late hours. Could you equate that to how many customers and how many takeaways that they would be producing? Would that be, 10 people an hour? Would that be 100 people an hour? Because at the moment, that parade of shops, when 5 o'clock comes, it all shuts. There's virtually no one in the car park because everyone parks opposite the co-op, which is in the main road. So there aren't any of those concerns with the footfall of the motorbikes or the car doors slamming. And I just think that, if you're going to be employing 8 or 9 people, that's quite a lot of takeaways to distribute either via people visiting the premises or delivery.
Yes, I understand you. But for takeaway business is difficult, and it is some difficult condition. Again, the weekend is very important. I say Friday and the Saturday is very, very important because the weekend for the social activity, people to go in the visiting, the party, for home delivery, okay, we can do it to some limit. And for example, the weekend after 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, no, any delivery is possible. But for example, the cob shop is open to 11 o'clock. The other kebab shop is not far away, 150 meters far away, is closing 2 o'clock. And it's because this shop is exactly close to the High Street. The High Street is no car parking, everybody coming here. Shop is closed, no going again is full parking. But our shop is closed, but car park is now is full. Parking is not affected. Our customer parking or for the delivery, I don't think it will be affected. Generally, it will be the local people. I look at is for the other shop is not driver people, is generally is the working people. Again, this is the 100% is no true one statistic information, but again, For takeaway, if you do it condition, it will be died. It's a big affected here. The weekend, for instance, very important. And the home delivery important. But we can do some condition, it's all right. I'm agree with the license authority, I agree with the police officer. And I have respect your comment. But again, we have to support this business. It must be open, it must be. If the future, again, sometimes complain and sometimes the travel problem, okay. If the licensing draw the attention or police officer, we have respect, we can do it to some new design, some new organization. It's possibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, I don't think you actually managed to put any sort of specific numbers on how many people, 8 or 9 staff, how many takeaways 8 or 9 staff would be servicing in an hour or between, say, 10 p.m. and 2:30 a.m. It's got to be quite a lot, hasn't it? And that's got to be delivery as well as people just rocking up for a takeaway. A considerable amount of footfall and business that doesn't currently happen in that quiet area off of the high street.
No, this the how many person will, how many staff will work. Just this is my comment is I think is, for example, the weekend, 3 person in the service, 3 person in the kitchen side for preparation is very important, and 3 person for the home delivery. It's come to 8-9 people maximum. The other day is regis. The other day, for example, 2 service, 2 in the kitchen is 4 people, enough. But the weekend is busy. At 5-10 people waiting. Is one side is preparation, one side is cooking, and the home delivery. Just weekend is a little, but there should be not 9 person, should be 7 person or 6 person. But maximum maybe is that 3 delivery, 3 in the service, and the 3 in the kitchen for preparation, for washing, cleaning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think what the gentleman was trying to allude to, how many people, customers do you predict to be receiving in those time frames?
Everyday activities are not same, it's different. Yeah, every day we can't do it the same stuff, same number of stuff. Weekend is busy. For example, Monday, Tuesday is very quiet. Just between 8-12 o'clock is a little busy. Every day is not same. The Sunday again, Sunday just afternoon, after 6 o'clock is quiet. Sunday. We have to look at, for example, for the after opening in the 2-3 months, we have to try, and the following, how many staff will work, how many, exactly I can't give the how many number it will work.
Okay, thank you.
But I know that day is not same, it's different. Just weekend is busy, weekend, okay, the more number, staff must be very, very important, and the customer service is important, must be minimum 2-3 person, and because everybody demand different give order, and someone must work in the kitchen for preparation, for cleaning. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we done?
I still haven't heard any numbers specified, only that it's generating employment of 9 staff.
I think what the gentleman's trying to say is he doesn't know, and we're not going to be able to. We're not going to get a number.
But it's not going to be 10 an hour, is it? I wouldn't have said.
Okay. Thank you. I would now like to ask the licensing officer to summarise their case.
Thank you, Chair. This evening we have heard the factual report, you've heard the details from the residents on some potential impacts this could have on them, and also from the applicant's agent on some possible mitigations. Subcommittee now need to retire to evaluate all of this information to come up with a determination. Thank you.
I would now like to ask Essex Police to summarise their case.
So far we've obviously heard quite a number of concerns, both from the residents and from myself, regarding the hours. The applicant has obviously offered several possible options to be considered. Obviously, when considering any of the licence objectives as a police force or any other, we must first not only consider the past and but also the potential future risks when issuing a licence. Obviously, I have given a suggested condition in relation to the external seating, which I will repeat for the committee's sanity, as well as for your legal advisors, so that they are able to advise you more fully. If you need me to repeat it again, please indicate. All external seating furniture to be removed or otherwise rendered unusable and secure after, and then insert a time as yourselves direct. Would you like to? That's fine. Or otherwise rendered unusable and secure.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, just on that point, can I just clarify one point?
Of course you can.
Sorry, Simon, the condition was about seating furniture.
Yes, external seating furniture.
There's no mention of tables in that condition. Would the same apply to tables?
It could be extended to believe to the back, but we can always word it all external seating and table
and chairs,
furniture.
tables and seating.
That's a perfectly acceptable adjustment.
Thank you. I would now like to ask the interested parties to summarise their case if they wish.
Yeah, I just think you've got to look at the location. It isn't in the high street, it's off of the high street. There's flats above the shops and opposite the shops. There's a small car parking area there, and if you go there at night, it's not particularly well used because it's the high street only that attracts the parking. And also the acoustics in that area, because the properties opposite are quite tall, it does create quite a reverberatory echo there. And if you're going to have countless mopeds, cars, people rocking up for takeaways, it's just going to be intolerable, I think, for the local community.
Thank you. Is that all you've got? Thank you. I would now like to ask the applicant to make a closing statement, summary statement, if you wish. Would you like to make a closing summary statement on your application?
Yes. And yeah, shop closing time, I say the last one is for the shop closing time.
No, would you like to summarise your application?
Yeah, it's okay, no more comment.
No more comment.
Thank you.
Has everyone said all that they wish to say? Thank you. The subcommittee will now retire to consider its decision and will be accompanied by the clerk and legal advisor to the room. Thank you. Thank you for waiting. We've now made our deliberations and made a decision. So I'd now like to pass over to the legal advisor, Gabriel, to read it out. Thank you.
So the decision of the licensing subcommittee is that the application is refused. Reasons will be given and a written determination within 5 days of this hearing, and it will be circulated to all the interested parties and responsible authorities and the applicant.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance this evening, and we'll be closing this meeting at 20:27. Thank you. Thank you.